If you want it, baby, yeah, you got it, baby. But it's all okay, cause I'm here to play. I'm competitive, baby, so let's go crazy. You can call it how you want, but I can't pretend I won't give all my love. I wanna win over your heart of gold. I wanna take you to the finish line.
Back, everybody. I'm your narrator for the evening, Evan, and this is just a little bit in our special Wednesday run of Proclaimers of Hero, a game set in homebrew hack that we created using the Cortex rule set and set in a mythological ancient Greece. Our players are taking on the roles of Mouseai, mortal agents of the Muse whose job it is to find and equip future heroes, prepare them to take on great deeds and become legends. They have just recently left the Academy of Athens, where they met Kara, one of the members of Athena's personal guard amongst the Athens army, who has asked them to go to the city of Oropos, a recently conquered village who has joined Athens' fold, but unfortunately hasn't been able to benefit from their protections just yet. It is their job to find a hero and overcome what they're rumored to be a dangerous bird type creature that seems to be stalking the lands of Oropos, damaging the crops and spoiling the land, and has left several of them in a coma, unable to respond to medicines of the priests or any of the local villagers. So they have been on the road, and we rejoin them as they arrive at the outskirts of Oropos, the hill rolling down towards a small village that's set around what looks to be a fairly substantial port, actually. You assume that this is probably one of the many ports that thrives from the trade through the Aegean and also through the greater Mediterranean Sea. You know that somewhere below you waits a potential hero, and that also slightly to the south of the city, slightly to the northeast of the city, is the Amphiarion of Oropos, a temple dedicated to an ancient hero Amphion, where you can find an oracle who might provide you with greater insight into where your future hero is. So what would you like to do?
Can I have a plot point for my trauma?
You know what? Yes. Because you have been personally traumatized and overcome that mouse, you can have a plot point.
Something tragic just happened. It's very in line with my character.
It is.
She is empowered by the muse of tragedy.
Yes. So yes, because that mouse went into your personal space, you can have a plot point. And just for anyone who's curious, we are using humane traps, which will catch him, and he will be released out into the woods near our home.
Yeah.
Remember...
Assuming we catch it and it doesn't just eat Joey alive in the middle of the night.
I mean, it's fine. I'm sure that won't happen.
The last time you said that, exactly what you said happened.
Don't fuck with me. Antigone's going to go off to the temple, stopping this conversation before Joey can have a panic attack.
All right, and anybody else, remember, so I will just give you this one reminder that we are not playing D&D currently, so it is okay for you to split the party, and that is just a choice that you as a group makes, if you would like to split the party or stay together.
Phoebe is definitely joining Antigone on the way to the Temple of the Oracle because, hello, it's an oracle. And Phoebe wants to know what's up, if they're legit or not.
There's a murder bird around. Like, it might be best to stay together until we know what's up.
Christos is going to the barracks.
Or
Nico is heading towards wherever the, coma people are. If we know that. And if not, Nico's just heading towards the town square.
You don't know specifically, but you would assume they're probably in town.
So Nico will head into town.
I'm assuming Theodora probably goes with Phoebe and Antigone because I have the money.
I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of the three ladies go to actual handle business, and the two boys just go off and cause trouble.
Theodora just puts an arm through both of yours and it's like, let's go, girls.
Get in, bitches. We're going shopping.
So I will say, for that purposes, let's cut to, since it's closer, Nikos and Christos. Nico and Christos, sorry, not Nikos. Nico and Christos heading down into the village of Oropos. It's more or less what you would expect it to be. There are a number of simple houses that are kind of nestled along the side of this river, the Arctus River, and you can see that there's a number of, most likely the majority of the people who live here are either farmers or fishermen. There's a number of fields outside of town which seem green, but then weirdly enough, as you look to the north of the town, there's a huge swath of it where the land just seems to have gone barren. There is no discernible crops out in the land. And I mean, crops can be a little difficult to grow in Greece, as it's a fairly rocky terrain, but to see them basically looking like they're spoiling it's not the right for this time of season. Like, you're in the deeply into like the warmer months of spring and summer, and so it is not right for nothing to be growing like this. As you get closer to the town, you can see that people are going about their business. There's a polis in the middle where a number of people are doing trade, and you can see that there is a barracks which looks to be a little battered. It's definitely seen better days, but there is a nice, fresh, crisp standard of Athens hanging up outside of the barracks.
Christos is gonna he'll open the door, just kick it in, and then do the superhero pose standing in the door frame.
As you step in, you see somebody diving across their table. They see diving across the desk, slamming a shield up, and spear comes down from basically right behind the desk. And you can see just sort of set of eyes over the top.
We're here to discuss the town's defenses.
And you can see that he stands up, and he's probably a middle-aged man. He is a soldier who definitely has the build of someone who's spent a lot of his time in the field in fighting, but he's starting to just go this side of losing his physique. He's definitely probably been down to the having one too many amphorae of wines of late, perhaps some good food. Yeah, so he's starting to get just a little bit of that I'm losing my condition, but he still has the hardened expression of a soldier. And he goes, I'm sorry, who sent you here?
Kara, tall, brown hair, brown eyes, cut on her face.
The commander sent you?
Yeah, that one.
And he looks you up and down with a heavy expression of skepticism. You're not what I expected in response to the missives I've been sending her about the local concerns.
The best military tactics say, expect the unexpected.
So she sent a twink.
Christos is an otter.
You'll forgive me my skepticism, but I asked for soldiers, not for whatever this is.
Soldiers aren't gonna fend off some harpy that is cursing your townsfolk and spoiling your fields. Or do you think any pea-brained numbskull would be able to help you? Yeah, that's what I thought.
He's serving the music aid.
Very well.
So,
if you can do something about the creatures outside town, well then, I welcome you to it.
Perfect. Give me the tour.
Of what?
Of this.
The barracks?
The barracks, the town, the defenses, the troops.
And you see he gets up and he adjusts the belt on his armor, he's definitely trying to make sure that it's comfortable, and stretches out his shoulders. He puts the shield down onto the desk and the spear back into its place. Keeps there's still a Xephos, a short sword, sheaths in his waist, and he goes, well, I suppose I could show you around, let you know a little bit about the town. Oropos is where I'm from. I joined the Athenian army 15 years or so ago, probably 5 times ago when the town has been conquered by Athens. It's regularly traded between the Athenians and the Boeotians.
So, 15 years is a long time. Why aren't you the commander?
I am responsible for the local deployment.
I mean, that doesn't really answer my question.
Are you and like turns to Nikos and is like, are they always this abrasive?
It's a little funny, isn't it?
Well, I guess beggars can't be choosers.
Nico just does a nervous laugh, like, ha ha ha.
So-
my friend here wants to find out where you're keeping the villagers, so we can try and reverse the curse.
Yeah, we have a shrine to Asclepius on the southern edge of this village. They're all there getting tended to by the priest.
Perfect.
I'll leave you two to that, and Nico will go wander in the direction that he just pointed.
Okay, yeah, so he points like south of the village, and you can see that there is indeed what seems to be like a fairly nice, like you're a little surprised because most of the village is fairly like utilitarian in its construction. Like it's a trade town, so most of it is designed to be like, here's the main marketplace. People have to have a place to live, but it's not terribly like fancy. The temple to Asclepius is fairly nice. There's a marble colonnade leading into it. There is very clearly offerings set out in front underneath the statue of Asclepius. And there's a small temple building at the back.
And so, like, while he's giving me a tour, I just want to keep asking him about, like, any up-and-coming stars in the ranks, if there's any local heroes, or...
You know, is there anyone who's better than you?
Basically.
Wow. Okay, well, rude, because this is his job, so, like, he doesn't need you coming in here shaming him, Karen. Secondly... yes, he does let you know, like, as you're chatting and having a little bit of the local gossip, he's like, well, if you're looking for a hero, you're looking for one of the local, like, soldiers who's well-liked, you're looking for Demetrius. He is also from the area. He was a couple towns over, but he helped, in the recent fight, free them from the Boeotians. He's quite the athlete as well. So, like, very well liked, very successful with the ladies, if you know what I mean. But he's the one that's actually had the most luck against whatever this creature is. He claims that he helped scare it away when it was trying to attack one of the farms outside of town.
And is he, on patrol? Maybe what? Where
And knowing him, he's probably down at the docks right now.
I mean, that seems like a sad place for a soldier to be when there's a, flying bird thing in the mountains.
He is there with an assignment. Making sure that we keep the docks secure and all the merchants safe is very important, obviously, because while the citizens are important, we need to make sure that the port stays open.
So, like, how about you tap him out, and I bring him with me to the temple, and we get rid of this bird thing?
Do you think that you can?
I'm a specialist. I don't think the commander would send me in if she didn't have faith in my capabilities.
Alright, so I'm going to say that this is a test. Because you're trying to convince him that you are prepared and ready for all of this to happen. I'm going to roll, and then that is a 6. So you need to beat a 6.
I'm going to use my logos,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to use my Actor of Renown distinction.
I'm going to say that in this moment you are overacting, so I'm going to hinder you, and I'm going to turn that D8 into a D4. You get a plot point for it, but like you see a moment to shine in the spotlight, and you cannot resist hamming it up.
Which is perfect, because I was planning on stepping down my logos to a D8 to also add my ingenuity.
Okay.
And I'm going to use...
So you're using a special effect to step your logos down and add another one of your attributes, your ingenuity, which represents your like intelligence and cunning.
And I'm going to say loyalty? I'm trying to convince him to help me help the town.
Okay. Yeah, I will say that this would fit the value of loyalty the way I've defined it, which has basically been like your willingness to work together.
And I'm going to throw in my specialty for acting.
I mean, you are acting, so I will say that does count. Roll some ones.
I did roll 1-1.
I will give you another plot point and I will buy it. What is the biggest dice in your dice pool?
A D8.
So that means I'm adding a D8 to the Doom pool. The Doom pool just got bigger.
But I did get a 13 as my roll.
You 13 as your roll. So 13 definitely beats, so you get a heroic win. So you can have one of my D6s as a hero dice. You already have a D6 though, don't you?
So I'll take a D4.
Yeah, you'll step it down to a D4.
Made out like a bandit on this one. 2 plot points and another heroic dice. Getting bank.
I mean, I'm happy to take some work to take another dice into my Doom pool. Thanks.
But yeah, I wanna convince guard number 2 to go take the place of Demetrius, so I can take Demetrius.
His name is Zephos, and he is a local guard captain for the area. Zephos will let you know that, well, if you think Demetrius is the right person for the job, then I will trust your judgment. And he is a local hero. He's very well respected. You know, he did amazing in the fight. You know, he took down a number of Boeotians single-handedly. And he has faced this creature before. Obviously, you're going to need the help.
But the real question, how hard do you think he's going to fight back when we sacrifice him on top of the hill?
I'm sorry, what?
And then Chris is just going to walk off like he didn't say that.
I'm sorry, what?
I mean, the gods are fickle. I don't know what's going to happen.
And, like, he looks at you and narrows his eyes and gives, like, an intense sigh of frustration and, like, starts back towards his office. We'll cut to Nico, and then we're going to cut to the Oracle Squad.
So yeah, Nico's just heading back into, like, there's not really anything besides the statue, like, around the temple, right? It's just...
No, so there's the temple. There's like almost like a colonnade around it. There's a statue sort of in the center, and there's this like large bowl or depression where people have left offerings, and then just beyond that is a small garden that leads into a temple.
Nico's gonna wander straight back into the temple. He feels pretty comfortable in temples because he grew up in one, so
you enter into the temple proper, and as you do, the air sort of gets heavy with the smell of incense and herbs. And as you turn the corner, you can see that there's sort of like that haze hanging in the air, and you can see there's another statue sort of set up at the far end of the temple with such a way that the light coming in from outside falls directly on it. For a minute, you have to kind of blink your eyes clear so you can see in the like half darkness. It's definitely got that drama that temples and churches tend to have with good lighting. And as you look around, you realize that sort of set into a niche on either side of the temple are several people who are like currently in the small beds. And you can see there's an older woman wrapped in a like shockingly pure white tunic or toga. I keep wanting to say tunic. We play too much D&D. Toga, who's sort of like moving between the people sort of checking in on them, that you have a feeling might most likely is the one of the clerics. As you can see that she has a staff in hand as she's moving between people that has the symbol of Asclepius on it.
Is the symbol of Asclepius like a caduceus?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Isn't it the same symbol we use on all of our like hospitals still?
To this day, I mean, Asclepius has been pretty fundamental to the Western culture. Greece has a lot of influence.
Nico will wander up to the older woman cleric, priestess, whatever she is, and go, excuse me.
She sort of like looks up at you. Did you need something?
Oh, I
didn't say to stutter.
I'm sorry. I was sent here by Kara, the whatever her title was, from Athens, and I came to check in on the folks that have suffered from the attacks that have been happening.
And like she kind of like one eyeball like looks you up and down. You look kind of soft, like an Athenian.
Oh, I can assure you, I am no Athenian.
So you say. What business do you have here?
As one who grew up in a temple of Apollo, I thought it wise to check out how the people that have been injured are doing, and see if I could try to help in any way I could here.
And she sort of leans against the staff a little bit and like looks you up and down again and gives a little, like her mouth kind of forms to a hard line. And she goes, well, I'm sure you've learned a lot in your obvious many years at the temple. You can feel free to take a look at them. It's not like they're going anywhere right now. And she sort of waves you over to several of the people who are. You can see you've been in many sick houses over the years working in the Temple of Apollo. Or like living in the Temple of Apollo. You've seen the sick before. It's just surprisingly quiet. You're used to the sounds of injury and illness coming with a lot of like pained cries and heavy breaths. And everyone in here is dead silent. As you look around, you can see that most everybody seems to be partially frozen in what's kind of shocking to you is like rictuses of surprise or fear. It is very the vibe of like that classic depiction of all the people who get caught by Medusa, where they're always sort of like it's a bit like that. Their skin still has the proper color, like the deep tan of Mediterranean summer, but none of them, they're all sort of frozen, locked in place. And there is 6 of them total. There's 4 on this side and there's 2 on the other side.
What is the like age composition? Like, are they all adults? They're
all adults. No one is old, but that's not unusual because at this time period, getting older is a little more less common. It's pretty much all adults though. So I would say like age range you're gonna guess is probably between like the 16 to the 30s.
Oh man, this sounds like 16.
It's ancient Greece. That's an adult.
Nico will then turn back to old lady woman, and go and may I ask your name?
You can.
Sorry, where are my manners? I am Nico Florakis from the Isle of Rhodes.
I'm Arissa, blessed of Asclepius, and the doctor of this community.
And how are you doing during all of this? Has there been anything you've been able to find?
Whatever illnesses they've all contracted is obviously from monsters of some sort or another. They're all locked in some kind of shock or fear paralysis. Won't move their body, haven't responded to any of our treatments. She's like, you can even hold a flame up to them or prick them with the needle and they'll get no response. I've tried the usual prayers to Asclepius, the appropriate sacrifices, cleaning their humors. Nothing has worked just yet.
She checked all 4 humors.
She checked all 4 humors.
Thoroughly.
Resentfully.
Yeah, Nico's not going to be much more use in this place right now. Is there anywhere in common that they were all found, or have they been found in different places?
Most of them were working out in the fields. They all decided to stay a little bit too late out in the fields at night. 3 of them were brought in by one of the local girls, one of the hunters.
And may I ask where that hunter is? Where she might live?
You can probably find her down at the docks. It's one of the trade days, so most of the locals are trading with the merchants who've come in off the ocean.
Oh, well, I thank you for your hard work you're doing here, and
she like spits on the ground in response.
Yes, I thank you. If anything changes, well, you don't really have a way to reach me, but I'll probably stop back in again just to see.
Sounds like Athenians, always meddling in places they don't belong. You know how to see yourself out.
Nico's just gonna
And
walk
she
out.
sort of clunk, like walks away back to walk towards the back of the temple.
Nico's just gonna walk out and go again. I'm not Athenian.
She is not impressed with this twink.
And we will cut from Nikos' enjoying of the local color to the Oracle Squad. You arrive at a fairly beautiful temple. It's actually a little surprising to you because it's sort of out of scale with what you saw of Oropos itself. Like, it is fairly nicely kept. There is a main temple with like these really nice gardens that are part of the property of the temple. There's actually a large amphitheater. So like just a like one of those theaters that's built, earthen theaters that's built up so that it's layers coming down into the theater itself, of a pretty decent size. And you can see over on the other side is a small settlement that probably supports it, the people who work at the temple. So a couple of buildings sort of off to their side, along the river edge.
Phoebe is definitely kind of following the other two and in full, like, looking everywhere but where she's going mode. And just kind of trying to, like, catch everything with this temple. Temple.
And here you can see that there's, like, sort of the large colonnaded entrance to the temple itself, and the theater sort of off to one side. And in particular, you can see what looks to be people preparing for some kind of like religious service out front of the temple. Someone is like clearing things out, laying out what look to be like ceremonial offerings.
Excuse me, could you tell us where we might find the Oracle?
Ah, you've come to see the Oracle, of course. Of course. Welcome to the Amphirion of Oropos. I am one of the aspirants here. I can guide you on your quest to see the Oracle.
Does that mean you'll give us directions?
Yes, I can give you directions to the Oracle
Please.
who is blessed with the sight of Amphirion, the hero who predicted his own fall.
Sounds like one of mine. Lead the way.
Of course. And it's like he walks you through the colonnade into what would be the temple proper. This one is darker than the one that you met Nikos in. This temple seems to be built a little bit back into the hillside that you're near. So as you enter into it, there are no like very open windows. The air here has that smell of like the underground, like that wet earth smell and like stone, and you can feel like a breeze kind of blowing through the building around you. There are several altars set up that have swirls of incense and like are lined with what look to be like freshly slaughtered animals and various goods that have been offered up as tribute to the Oracle. And you can see that there is probably a pretty decently sized priesthood. There's 6 different men and women in the same vestments as the one you're speaking to, moving through the temple, cleaning it, preparing all the altars. And the whole place has that low hum of energy, I'll say, especially for you, Phoebe. You can sort of feel that weight that only comes from places that are of import. Like tales are told in places like this. And so it has that energy for you.
Heavy smell of incense.
And fate and possibility.
I feel like Theodora is like... Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, as we're walking, I'm just gonna ask him, still not like looking at him directly, just kind of like glancing around. So what service for the masses are you performing outside right now?
Well, it is almost the anniversary of Amphirion's visions. And so every year we do a celebration. Some of the local companies put on a number of plays reenacting his experiences as a hero. We rededicate the temple itself. It is cleansed from top to bottom so that it can more appropriately attract the energy necessary for the Oracle to continue their work.
I feel like Theodora's in like full like business mode right now because they know, like, no offense, Phoebe, but oracles can be fickle, and so like it's always like a process to get an answer out of them. So they're like already like mentally preparing themselves to be like, oh my god, this is going to be like an ordeal.
And you wish to see this oracle for their services?
Yes, the Commander Kara sent us about your little bird problem.
Of course. And I assume you are prepared to make the proper obeisance to the temple for their services?
I like reach into my bag and pull out the little coin purse and like
at the sound of the clinks, you definitely see like his eyes dart over to the coin purse and then back to you, and the smile sort of turns a little bit more like Cheshire Cat. Ah, excellent. I see you are most prepared. What I would expect from the commander of the Athenian guards. Might I ask if you would please take a seat for a moment, and I will prepare the appropriate offerings for you and make sure the oracle is available.
Before he goes, Phoebe's going to be like, and mind you, we will only be paying if we're satisfied with our services.
You needn't worry. The oracle is able to part the veil and see into the futures. They have a direct connection to the fates that pull the very threads.
Yeah, I'll decide that. Thank you.
Just beware, because once you've seen the future, it's hard to resist the lure of its revelation.
Phoebe is wholly unimpressed by this act as she sees it.
Meanwhile,
like,
Theodora's looking at it. Theodora's looking at Antigone the whole time and like rolling her eyes, like out of sight from like the person speaking, just kind of like, oh my god, get a load of this.
Antigone's unfazed and just smiling, just waiting.
Yes. If you will give me just a moment, I will be sure that the chambers are prepared for you. And he gives a little bow and like backs away into the temple and disappears sort of back into the recesses of the temple itself through a doorway carved from the stone.
Funny how a coin purse will always open so many doors for us.
Oh yeah, I mean, oracles, they are occasionally helpful, but not every time. A lot of it's just, sound and fury to impress the general populace. We'll see if they're actually helpful, or we could probably just do this on our own, honestly.
As you are chatting for a minute, the minute passes and the same obsequious priest reappears and gives a little bow and says, "The oracle is prepared for your presence. They have cleansed themselves appropriately, and the correct tributes have been laid out so that you could receive their vision and receive the word of the gods directly upon your mortal ears."
Yep, let's go. Come on.
We needed so much help with that, thank you.
I feel like while walking down to the docks, Christos just like gives a shudder and is like, wait. No, bad juju.
You are led into a chamber that is very different from the other. So this one still has the feel of being more natural carved stone. You can see that there's still a couple of stalagmites and stalactites sort of pressed around here, and you can hear the faint sound of running water. And as you come through the back of the chamber, like sort of moving between the the obstruction of the various stonework, you come into a chamber where water sort of pouring down one of the walls into this deep pool, and the pool sort of wrapping around this marble mosaic that's been laid into the floor that depicts what looks to be a hero you would probably guess Amphitryon in combat. And sort of in the center, in a pile of like rich fabric, is a figure sort of hunched over, hood pulled up, of like this loose flowing toga. And you can see that their hands, where they appear, have this deep stain across them. That's like this like chalky white. And as they move their hands sort of over the stones in front of them, you can see that they're like leaving that streak of white behind, and they're just swaying slowly back and forth. Their head sort of tilted back side to side, and you can see that there's this long fall of like graying hair. But as they look up, the face is very young, very sharp, very sallow. It definitely has the look of somebody who doesn't probably missed a few meals and doesn't eat as much as they should. And their eyes have that like fevered look where there's that deep purple and there's like a shimmer to their eyes as they look up at you. The birds told me you would be coming. I saw it in their flight. You've come to see the Oracle.
Shouldn't rely too heavily on your visions of the future.
You shouldn't rely too heavy on what you see.
Oh, I see more than you think.
Now, Phoebe, they are here to help. We have come in search of a hero.
Have you? What need have you for a hero?
It's not us who needs it. Your town has a bit of a bird problem?
Ah, yes. You wish to know what haunts the lands of Oropos.
I mean, that would be helpful, but what I really want to know is who's going to stop it?
Do you have the offerings?
I just like reach over and like drop the bag.
And they take the coins and they like push the bag open and sort of give it a smell. And the priest sort of like scuffles over and like holds his hands out. And they like kind of dismissively like pour the coins into the priest's hands. And he takes another sack that's at the corner of his pouch, opens it, and pours out a small pile of this like thick white like chalky material. After a moment, you see one of the things that falls out is a mushroom, and you realize that this is probably some kind of like powdered or crushed up like mushroom. And you can see the figure Oracle leans forward and like runs their hands through it, and as they pull it up, they wipe it down their face, and it leaves these thick white streaks down there, like their face, to the point that it's it's very like that, like almost like war paint. And then they reach down into they pull down their toga and slide it over their chest, and they let out this sigh, and their eyes, like the pupils blow wide open, and you can see them sort of like lean into it, and like at a point just sort of like slide into the pile of the pulped mushroom, and they go, "Yes, I can hear it. It speaks to me. The wheels of fate are turning, and you seek a champion."
She's here for a good time, not a long time.
I know, in my head I'm just thinking like, oh great, we got her high.
Phoebe's like, there's always drugs involved. God. They're just self-important addicts, honestly. Jeez.
I'll be like, yes, we do seek a hero, as we said.
You come on the spear of Athena.
We're holding out for a hero.
I hear behind you the rustle of owl wings as you alight upon Oropos, as you seek to silence another of the birds that fly in the air. Not one that gives me vision, though. Instead, one that occludes vision. A blight upon this land. A hateful curse brought down by the Boeotians. It is their desire that if they cannot enjoy the fruits of Oropos, that Athens will not, and that instead they will rot on the vine. The choice is yours of who will be the hero. There is one who bears the sign of Athena, and one who bears a sign that's false. And of those two you must choose. One will fail you in the face of adversity, but the other will triumph the other will triumph in the face of a challenge. But be wary, both carry a heroic flaw. And should you fail to prepare for it appropriately, it will be the gander that is victorious. What you seek is a creature warped by magic and powered by curse. So you will need something of appropriate means to take care of it. A weapon once wielded by Amphitryon himself waits for you, deep within the crypt left behind. If you wish your hero to be prepared, you must place the weapon in their hands. But know that once placed, your die is cast. So be careful.
And where is this weapon you speak of? Like, where is it located?
Follow the flight of the Pegasus, and you will know.
I just go, great. Yep, that's super helpful. Thank
Antigone has a hand on both of the other two shoulder. Anything else that you can impart?
And you see at this point she reaches down into the pile, or they reach into the pile of the mushroom stuff and start rubbing some of it into their teeth. Rubbing it in. And they go, only this warning. Be careful of the tale you tell. There will be deep consequences.
Children will listen.
May Melpomene's other children miss your path. And Antigone will sort of give them a nod and turn to leave.
And yours.
While they're doing all of this, can I want to, give a check on how legit I think this is, as far as, my sliding scale of, is this all just, show and, light and show, or is this, a legit?
So you're trying to use your, metahuman senses.
I think it's more just my education, being raised in an oracle temple, and my experience in augury, and so it's more that.
And in that instance, I'm going to say you're taking on a test to assess how accurate it is. I am going to set the pool of dice, which thankfully I have a new D8 to roll to add to it. So I will roll. That is a 7, and I rolled an opportunity.
Ooh, okay. Okay. First question, for attributes, would this be more spirit, which is supernatural awareness, or more senses, which is more perception and awareness of surroundings?
This moment is going to be your spirit. You're going to definitely be feeling the senses. But feel free in the future for you to sort of make your argument about which one you want to be using.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, so remember, you are free to guide sort of this narrative.
Okay, which way I'm kind of sensing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll go spirit, and then raised by Delphi, and then my augury specialty, and my truth value, because I'm trying to get to the bottom of things here. Okay, there is a 1 in here, but otherwise it's a 14.
I'm going to give you a plot point to buy off that 1. What's the dice? What's the dice that you rolled that 1 on?
Sorry, that's a D6.
That's a D6. I'm going to add another D6 to my doom pool. And you got a 14.
Correct. Which I believe was a heroic success.
Yes.
So a D8 was your highest?
Yes.
Lovely. I'll grab that. And I am going to spend a plot point to buy that opportunity.
All right. What are you going to do with that opportunity?
That's a good question. Sorry, what are the mechanics of an opportunity?
So with an opportunity,
know how that
that's
works.
totally fair. With an opportunity, one of the best ways to use it, one of the most prominent ways to use it is to use it to reduce your stress. You can also use it, I believe, let me double check before I confirm this. I think you can use it to buy a asset.
Okay.
Let me refresh my memory. Of course, this is the thing I did not read again before.
Okay, I should have thought this through.
You can step down a complication or step up an asset, or if you want, create an asset in this instance.
Okay. Okay. Apologies. I'm not going to worry about activating that opportunity then.
Okay.
Because I don't think that's worth it at this point. Sorry
no
about
worries.
that.
We are all learning the game together.
Heroic success. Right? Exactly. Figuring this out as we
I feel like this is High School Musical. We're all in this together. No.
No.
Get out. Get out immediately.
That was not in the Mouseai download that we all got because it was not deemed worthy. So yeah, that's going to be a 17 with that. With
the 17 with the okay, yeah. So you definitely win. It's a heroic success. You spend a little while, like this whole time, you've kind of been gauging what you think the Oracle is doing. Watching them consume that much mushroom makes you pretty skeptical. But there is something to their energy when they deliver it. In particular, their knowledge of your being sent by Athena. And like in your experience, a lot of oracles don't give you the oracles you're most skeptical of are always the ones that give you the clearest answers or the most messed up answers. And this one felt like it gave you a pretty good like warning pathway. You get the feeling like this might have been a legitimate vision of some sort. How accurate it is, you know, the gods are fickle at times. Yeah. But you get the feeling like this is a divinely inspired vision.
Phoebe definitely does not like the idea of a set future, so she probably is going to fall more for this, or not fall, but, you know, appreciate more the prophecies that are information, helpful guiding. So she's into this. She's like, you know, gives the other two a look that's like, we can work with this. This is information. This was helpful.
And as you're like going to leave, you see that the figure sort of turns to you. Be careful of the song, it might lead you astray.
We're always careful, and when we're not careful, we're lucky. I'll just kind of turn and sashay out.
So cutting away from you at the temple, we'll pop back to Nico and wow, I'm gonna keep saying Nikos all the time. Nico and Christos arriving at the dock, sort of roughly at the same time for different purposes.
Wait, is your name not Nikos?
No, it's Nico.
Oh, I thought there was an S on the end too.
Nope. It's Christos and Nico, so that's what it keeps. So Christos, you're arriving from one part of town, and then Nico, you're arriving from the other part of town at the dock.
Yes, your name is above you.
Yeah.
They should be able to read it.
I was trying to point at it.
I have the Discord full screened. I can't see the stream. Thank you very much. I'm focusing on my craft.
As you do, you see that there is a young man dressed in like local guard garb, sort of with a small crowd around him, and is like very animatedly telling a story. He's like, and that's the moment when I stepped out into the field and we made direct eye contact. And as I crouched down and continued to circle it, I could see that in the shadows it was some kind of foul creature, a harpy or something, I'm sure, maybe even a drachne of some sort. But as we did, we faced each other on the field. And as my experience in many years facing creatures and man on the battlefield, I was ready for it. And so when we clashed, I drove it to the ground. And that's where I got this. And he holds up like this large feather. That's where I got this taken right from it. And it's this deep gray with these little bits of like brown serrations on it. And you can see that it has like this sheen to it. As he's like flashing it back and forth, it like pings the light off of it. So for a second, you catch it in your eye, very much like a mirror catching the sunlight. And he's like, plucked this right from its head. It was so terrified by me, it fled back into the waters.
I already know which is the fake.
Next time I see it, I'll pluck it bare and serve it on a table. And you can see several of the locals are like, oh, Demetrius, you're so brave.
Chris is going to make a point of like cheering the loudest.
Okay.
Just like
and like
obnoxiously over the top.
He makes direct eye contact with you, and it's like, oh, you must be one of the visiting merchants. I don't think we've met before, but obviously, you know, you can appreciate a man with a good story.
Christos will like offer his hand and say, "Actually, I'm your new boss. So you should stop flirting with the locals, and we should head to the temple."
Oh, that's humorous. I don't have a boss.
And Christos is like, look him up now, like, that's like the basic guard uniform, You're a little full of yourself for someone who's not even a hero yet.
And as I will say, as you say that, Nikos, you see that there's a woman leaned back against one of the nearby stalls. She has a bow and arrow on her shoulders, but besides that, is dressed very like in utilitarian clothes, dark hair, put her pulled back in a ponytail. And when you say that, she's like, somebody's noticed, I guess.
Did I learn did grouchy old doctor woman tell me the name of the
No, she
hunter?
just told you it was one of the local women who's a hunter.
Nico's gonna wander over to the woman with the hair and the bow, and sort of like lean next to her and go, he does seem a little full of himself, right?
He has been ever since we were kids.
Are there anyone else with like any sort of hunting gear? Because I assume the bow and arrow is sort of a hunting.
Yeah, there's a number of them. They all seem to be set up near the same. Like there's two stands that have been set up that are full of pelts and various other parts of like animals that are obviously they're doing business with. You can see there's an older man that has a lot of similarity to the woman in the middle of like some heated negotiations with what you would guess to be like Phoenician traders. So they have the very dark skin that marks them out as being Phoenician rather than Grecian. And they're sort of engaged in a heated conversation in a language you don't know.
I couldn't help but notice you have a bow and arrow and might be a hunter. I was guided here by the slightly bristly cleric at the Temple of Asclepius to try and find a hunter who did some heroic deeds in rescuing a few people.
If you think she's bristly, try getting the birds and the bees talk from her.
I would have actually loved to have heard that.
It's a lot of swearing.
Sometimes they're swearing with the birds and the bees.
Anyways, yes. What was your question?
I was wondering if you knew of the hunter that brought back 3 of the injured folk that are currently residing at the temple.
If we're talking about Talia, I probably would guess.
Yes, am I? Did she a few nights back? Has she over the course of the past few days, weeks? I don't actually know if we know a timeline. Been bringing some of the injured people back to the temple.
I know she brought at least one person in. She doesn't spend much time in town. She tends to like to stay out in the fields instead. She hunts in the forest nearby. She's always been a little strange ever since her family passed away during one of the plagues.
Do you know of any place to find her besides just the fields?
Yeah. So if you're looking for her under the usual circumstances, she hunts and she gives you directions to like a glade that's not too far from where you are. That's where she tends to do a lot of her like practice and such. She maintains her gear. She has a small hut that she keeps out there. She'll always come back there eventually.
Well, thank you for that. And I noticed you didn't have any great love, but seem to know this man over here. How do you know him?
Everybody in village knows him. He's a local war hero. Demetrius is all right. He's pretty good with his sword. He's been fighting for a while. He had some luck in the military. Came back after we took it back from Boeotia. The town was taken back from Boeotia.
And you don't think very highly of him?
I mean, he's all right, I guess. He's always willing to at least help out, but he has to tell everybody about it all the time.
I understand. Boasting is not always a becoming quality.
No.
Okay. Well, I thank you for your time. I may go to try to find Talia to see what else she can tell me about what occurred or what she may have seen.
Well, if you do, just make sure you make it plenty clear that you're not an animal as you approach her. She can be a little trigger happy. I shouldn't say trigger happy. She can be a little quick with her bow.
that is understandable. And Nico will like tap the bow that they have on their back too. Like, I understand that.
I see that. And as you are like finishing your conversation with her, you hear very loudly, "Well, I suppose if I'm going to be reporting to you, we should become better friends." And you see Demetrius leans over and with a like fairly brawny big guy leans over, grabs Christos and pulls you in very close. Christos, for you, he is just that side of like maybe a little bit too sweaty to be like fresh, and instead more a little bit like, you know, fragrant as he pulls you in, and his breath has the smell of fish on it pretty heavily. I think you and I are going to be just fine. I think so. What great task do you need from me? What villains need slaying?
Well, first we can start by slaying this BO. And then we can work on getting you in fighting shape. Because this isn't gonna cut it.
Oh, don't you worry. You put a sword in my hand and put me to an enemy and you'll have no problems.
I mean, hopefully that's one thing you know how to stick in somebody.
Wow. And on that note, it is 9:38, so I will say we will end there with you in the marketplace, or the port of Oropos, having found maybe your hero, and having received a vision from the oracles.
So we all agree it's not this douchebag.
100% not him.
I mean,
Unless we have
it
to
could
break
be.
him of his we have to break him of his narcissism.
He couldn't even get his story right. He doesn't even know what he thought. Like, dude's a liar.
I will say thank you everyone who joined us tonight. We will be doing this again next week at 7:30, where we'll jump back into Proclaimers of Heroes. As I mentioned before, we are using the Cortex rules system, which you can find out more at cortexrpg.com. If you enjoyed the show tonight, definitely give us a follow. We always appreciate that keeping people up to date on our other projects we're working on. And you can join us next Sunday, or this coming up Sunday, for just a little bit our core campaign, Troubles in True Home, using the D&D 5th edition rule set. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody, and stay safe out there.
Take it up, put it up in front of me. Feel the energy. You got what I need. What's it gonna be? 'Cause you got the key. You can set me free. Give me memories. Hey! You don't need to stop feeling you and all your vibes tonight. More than physical, I see your soul through your eyes. I can feel my universe open up, open up.